Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. Update. Brother is using common law to evict me from my own house. Original post. Hi there, really weird one here, but to cut a long story short, my brother moved in with me at the start of lockdown because he was living in hotels for some reason. I recently found out this was because he owes around £260,000 in debts to a multitude of small businesses for various reasons. A lot of these cases have gone to the High Court, and he is being actively pursued by bailiffs. When he moved in, he was relatively normal, but vague about why he was living in hotels and whatnot. Then as lockdown went on, he started to get more and more obsessed with these freemen on the land or common law types, which has led to some major disputes. Like saying he doesn't have to wear a mask because he's not a subject of the crown but the Cromwellian Lord Protectorship, and then tried to annex land from the fields behind our house because apparently you can claim land by throwing a hatchet at four corners. Well, recently, the bailiffs somehow caught up with him and they were pretty nice lads. Explained everything to me, but after he said he wouldn't pay even if he had all the money in cash, they took his car. Ever since this, my brother has been furious with me, so we started avoiding each other around the house. This weekend I went away for a mini break on the coast, and came back to find all the locks have been changed and windows boarded up. Garden furniture is nowhere to be seen. I rang my brother, who basically explained that as the house was unclaimed, he had made a de facto eviction of me from the house, making him sole owner. And if I attempted to make entry, he'd have every right to end me under the provision that an Englishman's home is his castle. I'm staying with my parents, which isn't ideal, as they should be sheltering, and I went on the mini break, but when I contacted the police, I was told that as a tenant, he has every right to change the locks. Dead confused. Any help is very much appreciated. Edit, by the way, this is in England. Also, very scared if more bailiffs come to the house, they'll seize my stuff thinking it's his. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Your brother has committed a number of criminal offenses or criminal damage, potentially burglary, eviction contrary to the Protection from Eviction Act 1977. The police were not correct because 1. How would they know whether it's a tenancy or license? And 2. It's obviously not a tenancy as you live there and never intended to grant him exclusive possession, and literally couldn't if you were still living there. So, call them up on 101 and report that someone has evicted you out of your own home. However, it's going to be about seeing a solicitor and having him evicted if you want to do it the proper way. The courts are hearing trespasser injunctions at the moment. Accelerated possession should be easy enough. In the alternative, you could actually break the locks and force him out, but the police may need to be called given a breach of the peace might occur. As you are a displaced residential occupier, you be entitled to use reasonable force to secure entry to the property, and he is an excluded occupier, so you can turf him out onto the street. The reasonable notice here to end his license to occupy has almost certainly elapsed. Ironically, this is the actual common law remedy of self-help. He can't not consent to that. Obviously, that presents practical difficulties, so it may be better to get the order and send the bailiffs round, and see how much they are amused by his common law nonsense. You would be entitled to damages, but obviously if he has £260,000 in debts, you're not going to get any money from him. Sorry to hear that your brother has ruined happy familial memories. Wow, okay, like I knew the eviction was bad, but didn't think that bad. Cheers, dude. And yeah, no idea what the police were saying. My dad knows a really good solicitor, so we'll contact him as soon as possible. And yeah, don't really care about the money, I just want him out of my house soon. The court route will take a couple of weeks. Obviously, he might try and trash the place in that time. I would still recommend doing that, rather than getting some big mates round to chuck him out if your brother has gone full nut job. Is this typical behaviors for your brother, or does he have a history of mental health problems? Reading this, I'm wondering if his mental health is going downwards, which may be triggered by stress relating to his financial situation. I've worked in a psychiatric hospital, and it sounds similar to the things some of the patients used to talk about. He never had any of this growing up, but he left home at 19 and we never really heard much from him. He kind of appeared out of the blue back when COVID was still hitting China, and then initially he seemed weird and is he hiding something? Since. No sign of mental illness. Now for the first update. Just woke up to find something like 60 messages in my inbox. But wow, thanks for all the help, guys. You've all been amazing, and an especially huge shout out to a certain user. You deserve that gold, mate. Anyway, quick update. I'm speaking with solicitors about what I can do now and how we can get rid of him. I rang 101 and police aren't exactly helping. They dragged their feet and said I'd need to go to court and whatnot. But yeah, solicitors have told me that this won't be too hard and he should be out soon. Once again, thanks for all the help. Now for the final update. Hello everyone. For those of you who have been following my little saga, got some great news. Back in the house, and otherwise everything's still here. Spent the whole day making sure. And nothing's been trashed, but there's tons of Domino's boxes in the kitchen. Apparently, he'd contacted the bank trying to access my account, and spunked any money he had left on pizzas in celebration, so he is now both homeless and has no money. So spoke with a solicitor who's my dad's one, and he basically picked apart literally every bit of this common law BS, and we rang the police. Again got stonewalled with tenants can change the locks or you need an eviction order. Solicitor explained the situation about how he was a guest and evicted me. Response back was literally, I'm afraid there's nothing we can do, you need to take this up with the housing authority because it's a civil matter, not a criminal one. Well, solicitor basically said police aren't going to help us, so we can either go for a court order or try and get bailiffs now. Went for the second as I need him out as soon as possible, and they said that this would be very easy. So bailiffs turn up with locksmith. I don't exactly know what happened, as me and the solicitor were waiting around the corner, but I do know the police were called and he got carted away. I assumed that would be the end of it, but he's been contacting my parents saying he's the rightful owner of the house now, and that he just needed some time to get back on his feet. Well, they've basically disowned him as of this, so looks like he's kind of screwed himself. And I assume the police let him back on the streets, so going to have to be wary, but I just hope he sods off. Honestly, huge thank you to everyone and all your kind words. You've all been so amazingly helpful, and what was quite possibly the scariest time of my life has now turned into a funny story I can tell my future kids. Anyway, yeah, thanks again. Thanks for the update. Glad to hear you found some bailiffs who knew the law relating to self-help and willing to do it. I'd still complain on 101 so as to try and ensure there's some remedial training on the 1977 Act though, although one suspects that it will be swept under the rug. Do let us know part 2 of the saga when he returns wearing a pirate hat and a homemade wax seal to stick over your windows. You may also want to keep an eye on your credit reports just in case he tries to defraud some loan companies with your details. Personally, if it's even worth it, maybe just open up another account with another bank and close the current one just in case, so the brother has no actual way into OP's finances. Though that might be more hassle than it's worth, and at least having some sort of every transaction must be approved verification for a little while may put OP at peace regarding his details being used against him. The absolute state of the police force in this country. You can literally get your house stolen by any random bloke who enters it, and the police will do nothing. It's a civil issue is the biggest load of rubbish I've ever heard. Meanwhile, they're posting press releases about biggest cannabis bust ever. Honestly wonder where the priorities are. This was one of the most nuts and memorable things I've read on this sub. I'm glad it wasn't complicated further and you're back in your home. I hope you remain safe and make note of any hostile contact whatsoever he has with you. It's ridiculous that you had to go through so many loops to get your own damn home back, but as long as you also have a magical land-claiming hatchet, I hope your brother accepts that he is not the Englishman that owns this castle. Now for the last story. Someone I've never met claims they own my house. Original post. Hi everyone, I wanted to get your opinion on something troubling. I'll try to be as detailed as I can be. We live in New York City if that helps. We were just away on vacation for a week and came back home yesterday. When we returned, among the other junk mail, there was a letter from a law firm for a person whose name I'd never heard before, directed to our address. It said something along the lines of, "We've received notice that a foreclosure action has been filed against you. Please call us and we can represent you." It also listed the names of the 2 people involved in the lawsuit, as well as an incident number for the county clerk's office. This letter isn't an official letter, more of trying to drum up business for the law firm. We returned on Sunday, so we're unable to get in touch with the county clerk until this morning. This morning we called the county clerk's office, and they said there is a lis pendens filed on our property, not a foreclosure. We said, how can this be possible? We've never missed a mortgage payment and have lived here for 6 years. We had a title search and checked for liens when we purchased the house, and we know the last 3 families to live here over the past 20 years, and it ain't these guys. We've never heard of either of the people involved in this lawsuit. The clerk couldn't really advise us, but gave us the name of the law firm who initiated the action, so we called them. They told us that the person in the letter, who we have never met, spoken to, or had any dealings with whatsoever, is being sued because the law firm's client was in dealings with him to buy foreclosures to flip, but now is out a lot of money due to some nefarious dealings on the part of the first guy. Apparently, this con artist was required by the law firm to provide deeds to any properties he owns, and among others, he provided one for our address. How he got this, I don't know. I assume he made it in Photoshop or something. He claims he owns our house and the one across the street. I have no idea if he actually owns the one across the street or not. We are still listed as the owners of our home in public records, and we have the deed. I cannot stress enough how much we do not know the man claiming to own our house. We have never met, spoken to, or had any dealings with him whatsoever. We had never even heard his name until yesterday. Our house has never been in foreclosure while we've owned it, and for any owners before that. We have an appointment for a consult with a lawyer on Wednesday, the one who helped us buy our house 6 years ago coincidentally. But I have no idea what's going on or what this guy hopes to gain, how big of a deal this is or how complicated this will be to fix. Any guidance or advice anyone can offer in advance with our meeting with our lawyer would be very helpful. Thank you all. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. In most states, list pendants have a special challenge proceeding that allows you to remove the list pendants and recover attorney's fees and costs via an expedited hearing. This is not the same as a regular lawsuit. Typically, the party filing the list pendants must prove they have a viable claim to the property, and the court will set the hearing via the motion calendar versus the trial calendar. Basically, it will be heard much sooner. You should hire an attorney to begin this process soon. Please do not expect that any law enforcement agency will do anything to help you or assist in any way. If it turns out the law firm and/or client who initiated the list pendants didn't have probable cause, or a variation thereof as states have different terminology, you can sue them for abuse of process, or directly ask for recovery of fees during the list pendants challenge proceeding. Take this seriously. Clouds on title are a big problem if something comes up in your life and you need to refinance or sell. You don't want to be held up for 3 to 6 months trying to clear title under the gun. Thank you, this is exactly the kind of information I was hoping to get. We have an appointment with a lawyer on Wednesday. I'll speak to them about what you recommended. I would add that you should call the attorney who did the title search and produce the title for you when you bought the house. If you financed the house, you probably also got a lender's policy of title insurance. If you did that, it would have been recommended also that you get an owner's policy of title insurance. If that is the case, the title insurer will be very helpful because they do not want a forfeiture. I'm very curious about the other person's deed purporting to show their ownership of your house. In my state, deeds are required to include a legal description which includes a very brief chain of title, usually say something like this. Being the same property conveyed to seller's name by deed dated. Date the sellers bought it, of record in deed book X, page Y in the office of the clerk of the county court. That would tell you where they supposedly acquired the deed, and you can do a simple title search relatively easily to see if it seems legitimate. You have title insurance, right? You will want to contact them as soon as possible, as well as speaking with your own real estate attorney. I assume so, since according to Google, lenders require it as part of closing costs. I'll have to check our documents from signing to see who it was with. Thank you. Edit. Hey all. Thank you so much for all your guidance. Figures that the post I made about potentially getting screwed is the one that takes off. Here's some more information based on everyone's comments. The chance that this guy has a legitimate claim to our house is 0.0000000000001%. Only a Sith deals in absolutes, so I don't want to say the chance is nil. But this guy is a known con man, being sued for conning somebody else. I looked his name up online, and apparently, he keeps creating new real estate companies to fleece people out of money, then escapes into the night. He's done it at least 3 times that I can find, based off dismal reviews of his real estate companies. Unfortunately, I can't speak to the people across the street because that was a flip that hasn't been sold yet. He may or may not actually own it. I have no idea. At this point, we are not personally involved in this lawsuit. Our property is just associated with it. The con man hasn't made any attempts to acquire our property. He is just lying to the law firm suing him, saying he already bought it. Why? I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that he bought no properties with the money his business partner gave him, and is now desperately trying to cover himself with falsified documents. Why did he not think that he would be found out? That's just the way malignant narcissists work, I guess. I definitely look into our title insurance standing. I'm a worrywart, so if it was offered to us, I would have taken it. I'll definitely keep you all updated as we meet with our lawyer tomorrow and things progress. Thank you all so much. Keep being awesome, guys. First update. Hi everyone, I can't thank you enough for all your advice on my last post. Someone I've never met claims they own my house. This is the first update, and I'm hopeful there will just be one more after this, wrapping everything up so we can put this behind us. This is what has happened since my last post. After the initial letter from the law firm saying they can represent us, we started getting phone calls from other firms saying they'd been alerted to the list pendants and could also represent us. We were not super happy with this and asked how they got our cell number. They said they subscribe to a service that alerts them when things like liens, foreclosures, and so on are filed on a property. We hung up. We looked at all our documents from the closing and confirmed that we do indeed have homeowner's title insurance. Yay, our deed is a bargain and sale deed for those wondering. We also pulled all deed and mortgages and other documents for our property going back to 1972 online. The last action was when we bought our house. No documents have been filed since. I signed up on Acris to be alerted to any changes made to the property documents. Thank you for the commenter who suggested that. I also emailed the DA for my county, and their Economic Crimes Bureau had emailed me back to ask for my cell number to follow up with me. I gave it to him, but he hasn't called yet, so maybe that will be in the next and hopefully final update. My husband met with our lawyer this morning, and I asked him to speak about all the things that you all suggested in the last post. Prior to the meeting, our lawyer had reached out to the firm who filed the lis pendens and actually got a copy of the court transcript where the con man said he owns our property. According to the transcript, he claims he bought it in 2016. Our lawyer called their law firm and basically said, "Where is the deed?" They supposedly hemmed and hawed about it, so we're starting to think they don't have it, and never did. They may just be going off the words of a sleazeball who's like, "Yeah, I totally own that place. I even have a deed for it. No, you can't see it." It's possible that based off this alone, they filed against our property. In addition, it's not like this guy is saying he bought our house last week and the paperwork just hasn't been filed yet. He claims he bought it 3 years ago, and there is still no paperwork filed to attest to this fact. I was able to pull up all records for our home going back nearly 50 years in about 15 minutes online. Our lawyer does not like the way this other firm is handling this, and basically said to them, "You have no grounds for this. Take it off." The attorney handling this case at that law firm is out of the office today and tomorrow, but will be calling our lawyer back on Friday. I am hopeful that it will just be a matter of take the lis pendens off, and okay. I'll update again after the call between the lawyers. I told my husband the number one question is, where is the deed? When we initially spoke with them, they clearly said they had it in hand, which is part of the reason I was freaking out. I honestly just want to be done with this, so getting back at the suing law firm for gross negligence, or whatever term fits the issue, is of no interest to me at the moment. If they give us a hard time about removing the lis pendens, then we'll see. So far, my takeaway from this is that I would share with anyone going through something similar is that law firms are made up of people. And just like people can be good and smart and kind like all of you, they can also be dumb, shifty, and lazy, and not bother to do their due diligence, even though that's like 50% of why they exist in the first place. But I'm not bitter. Thank you all so much for your help. I'll update again as things progress and hopefully conclude. Now for the final update. So, it has been a while since my previous update, and I wish I could tell you all that it's because we were involved in a super exciting court battle, but the truth is much more annoying and banal, as life tends to be. As we left it in the last post a couple months ago, our lawyer called the law firm who submitted the action against our property and said, "You have no grounds for this, take it off." The paralegal he spoke to said the lawyer handling the case was out that day but would contact our lawyer soon. They did not. For weeks. Despite everyone bugging them, they were very disinterested in resolving the issue. Color me shocked. In the meantime, we're getting junk mail from law firms and mortgage management companies at least every 2 to 3 days, saying they can help us with this issue we don't have. The notices start to be addressed to us personally instead of this other random guy who said he owned our house. This displeases us. I start keeping a little pile of these letters next to the stairs with copies of our mortgage payments notices from the bank, just in case. This goes on for a while, long enough for my initial anxiety to fade into more of an situation. Until yesterday. Our lawyer finally got a response to his email from July, where he outlines everything, and attached a preponderance of evidence showing we continue to own our house, and their response is, and I quote, "We will remove the action. Period. No good afternoon, no sincerely. We will remove the action." A shard of an email after weeks of worry. So with a whimper, we got what we wanted. Obviously, we will continue to monitor everything until they actually do what they said they will, but it is a load off my mind. I wish I had something more exciting to tell you, but it seems in the legal world, exciting equals bad. Thank you all for your concern, your advice, and your upvotes. I hope that if any of you face a similar situation, that reading this can help you figure out how to resolve it.